What if I told you that the biggest reason most people never become wealthy has nothing to do with intelligence, luck, or even hard work? What if the difference between a person who struggles financially for decades and someone who builds lasting wealth is hidden in something most people never think about? Because the truth is uncomfortable. Two people can grow up in the same city, go to the same school, and work equally hard. Yet one spends a lifetime chasing money, while the other seems to attract opportunities, create value, and steadily build wealth. Why? What do they know that others don't? And perhaps an even more important question: what if the beliefs you have carried about money since childhood are silently keeping you poor? Most people never ask themselves that question. They blame the economy. They blame their circumstances. They blame bad luck. But very few people stop and ask whether the problem is not outside them, but inside them. Because money is rarely created in the wallet first. It is created in the mind. And long before wealth appears in your bank account, it appears in your habits, in your decisions, in your discipline, in the way you see opportunities, and in the way you respond to failure. The truth is that poverty and wealth often begin as patterns of thinking long before they become financial realities. And if your mind created your current reality, then a different mind can create a different future. In this audiobook, you will discover why some people remain trapped in cycles of scarcity, while others gradually build abundance. You will learn why discipline matters more than motivation, why opportunities are invisible to most people, and why the greatest investment you will ever make is not in the stock market, but in yourself. Because changing your income without changing your mindset is like pouring water into a broken bucket. Sooner or later, everything disappears. But when you change the way you think, you change the way you act. And when you change the way you act, you change the direction of your entire life. So before we begin, ask yourself one question. Are you willing to keep thinking like the person you are today? Or are you ready to think like the person you want to become?
Why most people never build wealth. There is something strange about the world we live in. Millions of people wake up early every morning, work hard, pay their bills, and repeat the same routine year after year. Yet despite all their effort, many of them never experience financial freedom. They spend decades chasing money, only to discover that they are still living paycheck to paycheck. And the question is, why? Why do some people gradually build wealth, while others remain trapped in the same financial struggles for most of their lives? Most people believe the answer is simple. They believe wealth belongs to those who are born lucky. They believe success is reserved for people with extraordinary intelligence. They believe that wealthy people simply had better opportunities. But history tells a different story, because some of the wealthiest individuals in the world started with almost nothing, and some people who inherited fortunes eventually lost everything, which means money itself is not the deciding factor. Something deeper is at work, and that something is mindset. Long before wealth becomes visible on the outside, it is formed on the inside. Every financial decision you make, every opportunity you ignore, every habit you repeat, and every belief you hold about money slowly shapes the future you eventually experience. Most people never become wealthy because they spend their lives treating symptoms instead of addressing causes. They focus on earning more without learning more. They search for quick results instead of building lasting habits. They chase motivation while ignoring discipline. And perhaps the greatest mistake of all, they believe that changing their income will change their life. But the truth is often the opposite. Changing yourself is what changes your income, because money tends to flow toward value, and value flows toward growth. The people who continuously improve themselves, develop skills, control their emotions, and think long-term often discover that wealth becomes a byproduct of who they have become. Unfortunately, most people never reach this understanding. They spend years blaming circumstances. They blame the economy. They blame inflation. They blame other people. But blame has never built wealth. Responsibility has. And this is where everything begins to change. Because the moment you stop asking, "Why is life unfair?" and start asking, "How can I become more valuable?" you begin to think differently. And once your thinking changes, your actions begin to change. And once your actions change, your future starts changing too. Wealth is rarely built through one big decision. It is built through thousands of small decisions repeated consistently over time. Small habits, small disciplines, small improvements, day after day, month after month, year after year. And while most people are waiting for a miracle, successful people are building systems because they understand something that average people often overlook. Success is rarely dramatic, but failure often is. Nobody becomes wealthy overnight, but many people become poor slowly, one bad decision at a time, one unnecessary expense, one excuse, one delay, one distraction. Until years later, they wonder where all the time went. The truth is uncomfortable. Financial success is not only about making money, it is about becoming the type of person who can create, manage, and multiply money. Because if wealth comes before wisdom, wealth eventually disappears. But when wisdom comes first, wealth often follows. And perhaps this is why personal growth will always be one of the greatest investments a human being can make. Because your external world rarely rises above your internal world. And if you truly want to change your financial future, you must first change the person who is creating it. Your mind creates your financial reality. Take a moment and think about the things you heard about money when you were growing up. Perhaps you heard people say, "Money is hard to make. Rich people are greedy. Wealth is only for the lucky. People like us never become rich." At the time, they may have sounded like simple opinions, but over the years, those opinions became beliefs, and beliefs have power. Because whether they are true or false, the human mind tends to act according to what it believes. That is why two people can face the exact same opportunity and see completely different things. One person sees risk, the other sees possibility. One person sees limitations, the other sees potential. One person says, "I can't afford it." The other asks, "How can I afford it?" And that single difference in thinking can completely change the direction of a life. Because your mind is like a filter. It determines what you notice, what you ignore, what you fear, and what you pursue. If you believe success is impossible, your mind will search for evidence to prove you right. If you believe wealth is reserved for other people, you will unconsciously sabotage opportunities that could change your life. Because human beings do not simply live according to reality. They live according to their interpretation of reality. And sometimes, the greatest prison has no walls. It exists inside the mind. Many people spend their lives carrying invisible limits they never chose. Limits inherited from fear, from society, from painful experiences, from parents who themselves struggled financially. And without realizing it, they begin repeating the same patterns, not because they are incapable, but because they have accepted a story that was never truly theirs. The problem is that the mind cannot distinguish between a truth and a belief repeated often enough. Whatever you feed it consistently, it begins to accept. Which is why fear grows stronger when it is fed, and confidence grows stronger when it is practiced. Most people underestimate the conversations they have with themselves every day. They say, I'm bad with money. I'll never be successful. I always fail. And eventually, those words become identities, because the mind always works to remain consistent with the identity you accept. If you see yourself as someone who struggles financially, you will continue making decisions that keep you there. But when you begin seeing yourself differently, something remarkable happens. Your decisions begin to change. Your habits begin to change. Your standards begin to change. And little by little, your life begins to change. Because wealth is not only about what you have, it is about who you become. And the people who achieve extraordinary success understand something that average people often miss. They guard their minds carefully. They understand that negativity is contagious. Fear is contagious. Excuses are contagious. But so are ambition, discipline, growth, and possibility. This is why successful people are selective about what they read, what they watch, who they listen to, and who they spend time with. Because every environment is programming something. Every conversation is planting seeds. Every thought is building a future. And eventually, the life you experience becomes a reflection of the thoughts you repeatedly entertain. This does not mean positive thinking alone will make you rich, but negative thinking can certainly keep you poor. Because before money changes, thinking changes. Before actions change, beliefs change. And before success becomes visible in the world, it first becomes visible inside the mind. The truth is that your future is not created in a single moment. It is created in thousands of ordinary moments. Moments where you choose courage over fear, growth over comfort, responsibility over excuses, and vision over doubt. Because the greatest transformation in life does not happen when your bank account changes. It happens when your mind changes. And once that happens, almost everything else begins to follow. Why rich people think differently. If you give two people the exact same amount of money today, there is no guarantee they will have the same future. In fact, history has shown that some people can turn a small amount of money into a fortune, while others can inherit millions and eventually lose everything. Why? Because money does not change people. It reveals them. And wealth is often less about resources and more about thinking. This is why rich people and poor people often see the world through completely different lenses. Not because one group is smarter, but because they have trained themselves to think differently. Most people believe wealthy individuals focus on money. But that is not entirely true. Wealthy people focus on value. Average people ask, how much money can I make? Successful people ask, how much value can I create? Because they understand something that many people never realize. Money follows value, always. The marketplace rewards people who solve problems, who improve lives, who make things easier, who bring solutions. And the bigger the problem you solve, the bigger the reward often becomes. But there is another difference. Average people often think short-term. They want immediate results, immediate pleasure, immediate rewards. They want success without sacrifice, results without patience, and wealth without discipline. But wealthy individuals understand the power of delayed gratification. They are willing to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. They understand that small actions repeated consistently can eventually produce extraordinary results, because they know that success compounds, just like failure does. Every book you read compounds. Every skill you learn compounds. Every dollar you save compounds. Every habit you build compounds. And every wise decision compounds. The problem is that compound growth is invisible at first, which is why most people quit too early. They plant seeds, and then become frustrated because they do not see a forest after 1 week. But successful people understand that growth requires patience, and patience is becoming increasingly rare in a world addicted to instant gratification. Another major difference lies in how people react to problems. Average people often see problems as punishment. Successful people see problems as training. Average people ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Successful people ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" And that simple shift changes everything, because challenges either break people or build them. And the difference is often determined by perspective. Wealthy individuals also understand that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. They do not expect perfection. They expect mistakes. They expect setbacks. They expect disappointments, because they know that every lesson paid for with pain contains wisdom. And wisdom is one of the few assets nobody can take away from you. Perhaps the biggest difference of all is that rich people understand that they are responsible for their lives, not because life is always fair, not because they control everything, but because responsibility gives power. Blame gives excuses, and excuses have never built anything extraordinary, because the moment you take responsibility, you stop waiting to be rescued. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop depending on luck. And you begin building, slowly, patiently, day after day, until one day, people call you lucky, without ever seeing the years of discipline hidden behind your success. The truth is that rich people do not necessarily have different dreams. They simply have different habits, different standards, different priorities, different beliefs, and ultimately, different ways of thinking. Because before wealth appears in the bank account, it first appears in the mind. Discipline matters more than motivation. There is one dangerous lie that keeps millions of people stuck. A lie that sounds harmless, a lie that feels good, but a lie that quietly destroys dreams. It is the belief that you need motivation to succeed. Most people spend their lives waiting to feel motivated. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect Monday, the perfect year. They wait until they feel inspired. They wait until they feel confident. They wait until they feel ready. And while they are waiting, life moves on, because motivation is emotional, and emotions are unpredictable. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel weak. Some mornings you wake up excited. Other mornings you wake up exhausted. And if your actions depend on your feelings, your results will always be inconsistent. This is why motivation creates excitement, but discipline creates transformation. Motivation can make you start, but only discipline can make you continue. And the truth is, successful people are not always motivated. In fact, many days they do not feel like working. They do not feel like exercising. They do not feel like learning. They do not feel like sacrificing comfort. But they do it anyway, because they understand something most people never learn. Feelings are temporary. Standards are permanent. And standards are what create extraordinary lives. The average person asks, "How do I feel today?" The disciplined person asks, "What must be done today?" Because discipline is not about emotions. It is about identity. It is about becoming the kind of person who keeps promises to himself. And perhaps that is one of the greatest forms of self-respect. Keeping your word when nobody is watching. Because every time you break a promise to yourself, a small amount of trust disappears. And eventually, you stop believing in yourself, not because you're incapable, but because your mind has seen too many broken promises. I'll start tomorrow. I'll save money next month. I'll change next year. Tomorrow, next month, next year. And before you know it, years have passed, dreams have faded, potential has been wasted. Not because you lacked talent, but because you lacked consistency. Because success is rarely lost in one dramatic moment. It disappears through small acts of neglect, small excuses, small delays, small distractions, repeated every day, until average becomes your identity. But discipline works the same way. Small efforts, small improvements, small victories, repeated consistently, until excellence becomes your identity. This is why discipline is freedom. At first, that sounds strange. People often believe discipline is restrictive. They think discipline takes away freedom. But the opposite is true. Lack of discipline creates slavery. Slavery to emotions, slavery to bad habits, slavery to debt, slavery to procrastination, slavery to comfort. Discipline, on the other hand, creates choices. The discipline to save money creates financial freedom. The discipline to learn creates opportunities. The discipline to exercise creates health. The discipline to control emotions creates peace. And the discipline to grow creates a better future. The irony is that everyone suffers. Everyone. But there are two kinds of pain. The pain of discipline and the pain of regret. One weighs ounces, the other weighs tons. And if you do not choose the pain of discipline today, life will eventually choose the pain of regret for you, because time never stops. And every day, you are becoming someone. You are becoming stronger or weaker, more disciplined or more distracted, closer to your dreams or further away from them. There is no standing still. Life is movement. And perhaps that is why the greatest victories are often invisible. Nobody applauds you for waking up early. Nobody celebrates when you save money instead of wasting it. Nobody notices the books you read, the sacrifices you make, or the temptations you resist. But one day, years later, people see the results, and they call you lucky. Without realizing they are looking at the visible rewards of invisible discipline. Because success is not built in public, it is built in private. It is built on ordinary days, quiet days, lonely days, days when nobody believes in you, days when nobody is watching, days when you could have quit, but you chose not to. And perhaps that is what separates extraordinary people from average people. Not intelligence, not talent, not luck, but the ability to keep going, long after the excitement has disappeared, because motivation comes and goes, but discipline stays, and in the end, the life you desire will not be created by what you do occasionally. It will be created by what you do consistently, the habits that compound wealth. Most people underestimate the power of a single day, because a day feels insignificant. $1 saved does not seem important. One chapter read does not seem life-changing. One workout does not transform the body. One good decision appears meaningless, and that is precisely why so many people fail, because they judge their lives by individual moments. But life is never shaped by individual moments. It is shaped by patterns, and patterns become habits, and habits become destiny. The truth is that success rarely arrives in dramatic ways. It arrives quietly, patiently, almost invisibly, like the growth of a tree, day after day, week after week, year after year. And then one day, people see the results and call it overnight success. But nothing extraordinary happens overnight. What appears sudden is usually the result of years of invisible growth. Because life rewards consistency more than intensity, most people want immediate transformation. They want dramatic change. They want fast results. They want shortcuts. But nature itself teaches a different lesson. A seed does not become a tree overnight, and a person does not become wealthy overnight either. Everything valuable requires time. And the greatest force working in your favor is something few people truly understand. Compounding. Compounding is one of life's hidden miracles. Small efforts repeated consistently produce extraordinary outcomes, not because the efforts are large, but because they accumulate. 1 page a day becomes books. $1 a day becomes investments. 1 hour a day becomes expertise. 1 discipline a day becomes character, and character eventually shapes destiny. But there is something important to understand. Compounding works in both directions. Good habits compound, but bad habits compound too. Just as small, positive actions can create wealth, small negative actions can create poverty. 1 unnecessary expense, 1 hour wasted, 1 excuse, 1 distraction, 1 lazy decision. Individually, they seem harmless, but over time, they become a lifestyle, and lifestyles create futures. That is why your future is hiding inside your daily routine, not in your dreams, not in your wishes, but in your habits. Because habits reveal what you truly value, not what you say, not what you hope, but what you repeatedly do. And perhaps this is why many people remain frustrated. They expect different results while protecting the habits that created their current reality. They want success without changing, growth without discomfort, rewards without sacrifice. But life does not work that way, because every action is a vote. Every choice is a vote. Every day you are casting votes for the person you are becoming. When you save money, you vote for financial freedom. When you read, you vote for wisdom. When you learn new skills, you vote for growth. When you control your emotions, you vote for maturity. And when you choose discipline over comfort, you vote for the future you desire. The problem is that most people abandon good habits too early because they expect immediate rewards. But life often rewards patience. For a long time, it may seem like nothing is happening. No visible results, no dramatic breakthroughs, no applause, no recognition. But beneath the surface, everything is changing. Just as roots grow before branches appear, character grows before success appears. And perhaps that is why so many people quit. Because they mistake invisible progress for no progress. They stop 1 step before the breakthrough. They abandon the process because they cannot yet see the reward. But successful people understand something extraordinary. They trust the process, even when results are invisible, even when progress feels slow, even when nobody believes in them. Because they know that consistency always leaves footprints, and eventually, those footprints become roads, and those roads lead to places that average people only dream about. The truth is simple. Your life tomorrow is being built by your habits today, not by 1 decision, not by 1 opportunity, not by 1 lucky moment, but by thousands of small choices that nobody sees. Because greatness is never an event. It is a process, and wealth is rarely the result of 1 brilliant move. It is often the reward for years of ordinary decisions made with extraordinary consistency. So never underestimate small beginnings. Never underestimate 1 page, $1, 1 lesson, 1 hour, 1 habit. Because the life you desire is not created all at once. It is created 1 day at a time. And one day, the results that once seemed impossible will simply become your reality. Learning to see opportunities. There is something strange about opportunities. They rarely announce themselves. They do not knock on the door. They do not arrive with certainty. And they almost never look the way people expect. In fact, opportunities often disguise themselves as problems, as risks, as hard work, or even as failure. And perhaps that is why so many people spend their lives waiting for opportunities while walking right past them every single day. Because opportunities are not always found. More often, they are recognized. And recognition depends on perspective. Two people can stand in the same place and see completely different worlds. One sees limitations, the other sees possibilities. One sees obstacles, the other sees openings. One sees reasons to quit, the other sees reasons to begin. And the difference is rarely intelligence. The difference is awareness. Because the human mind does not see everything. It sees what it has been trained to notice. This is why some people seem lucky, not because luck favors them, but because their minds have become sensitive to possibilities, while others have trained themselves to notice only fear, only problems, only reasons why something will not work. And eventually, people find exactly what they are looking for. The person searching for excuses will always find excuses. The person searching for opportunities will eventually find opportunities. Because attention is powerful. Whatever dominates your mind begins to dominate your reality. But there is another truth that many people fail to understand. Opportunities rarely come to those who are waiting. They come to those who are preparing. Imagine two individuals. Both are offered the same chance. One embraces it, the other rejects it. Why? Because opportunity without preparation often looks like pressure. And pressure creates fear. This is why preparation matters. Because confidence is not magic. Confidence is preparation. The more you learn, the more you grow, the more skills you acquire, the easier it becomes to recognize possibilities that others overlook. And suddenly, people call you fortunate, without realizing that your so-called luck was built through years of preparation. But perhaps the greatest enemy of opportunity is comfort. Because comfort whispers beautiful lies. It says, stay where you are. Play it safe. Don't risk failure. Wait for certainty. And yet certainty is something life rarely offers. Everything valuable requires faith. Every dream, every business, every investment, every relationship, every new beginning. At some point, uncertainty becomes unavoidable. And those who learn to act, despite uncertainty, often discover opportunities hidden inside the unknown. Because courage does not mean the absence of fear. It means moving forward, despite fear. And this is where most people become trapped, not by lack of ability, but by fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of rejection, fear of losing, fear of looking foolish. And perhaps the saddest part of all, many people spend so much time trying to avoid failure that they accidentally avoid success. Because the road to opportunity is rarely comfortable. It demands growth, patience, learning, humility, and the willingness to begin before feeling ready. The truth is, the people you admire are not fearless. They simply refuse to allow fear to become their master. They acted while uncertain. They learned while struggling. They failed while improving. And slowly, opportunity revealed itself. Because opportunity is attracted to movement, not hesitation, to growth, not excuses, to action, not endless thinking. And perhaps this explains why some people seem to rise higher every year. Not because they possess secret advantages, but because they have developed the habit of seeing possibilities where others only see problems. And that habit changes everything. Because once you learn to recognize opportunities, you begin to understand something extraordinary. The world has always been full of possibilities. You simply could not see them before. And when your eyes change, your future changes. Because opportunities are rarely absent, but awareness often is. Why value creates money? Most people spend their lives asking one question: how can I make more money? And although there is nothing wrong with that question, it may not be the most important question, because money itself is not the source. Money is the result. Value is the source. And once you understand this, you begin to see the world differently. Look around you. Every product you buy, every service you use, every company that exists, every profession, every invention exists because someone created value. Someone solved a problem. Someone made life easier. Someone provided something useful. And in return, the world rewarded them, because money is simply an exchange of value. The baker creates value. The teacher creates value. The engineer creates value. The doctor creates value. The entrepreneur creates value. And the greater the value, the greater the rewards often become. But unfortunately, many people have been taught to focus on money itself. And that is where frustration begins. Because chasing money directly is like chasing shadows. Money follows value, not the other way around. Successful people understand this principle deeply. Instead of asking, how can I get more? They ask, how can I become more? How can I become more useful? How can I learn more? How can I improve my skills? How can I help more people? How can I solve bigger problems? Because they understand something extraordinary. Income rarely exceeds personal growth for very long. Eventually, who you are determines what you earn. And perhaps this explains why some people receive opportunities that others never experience. Because opportunities are attracted to value. People trust value. Businesses reward value. Society rewards value. And value begins with growth. This is why investing in yourself is never a waste. Every book you read, every skill you develop, every lesson you learn, every mistake you overcome adds to your value, and value compounds over time. But there is another truth that many people fail to understand. Not all value is financial. Kindness creates value. Wisdom creates value. Leadership creates value. Discipline creates value. Integrity creates value. And character itself creates value. Because people may admire talent, but they trust character. And trust is one of the most valuable currencies in existence. Without trust, relationships collapse, businesses collapse, reputations collapse. But with trust, opportunities multiply. Because people naturally move toward those who create value and away from those who destroy it. This is why complaining rarely creates success. Blaming rarely creates success. Envy rarely creates success. These things consume energy without producing value, and life rewards production, not excuses, creation, not complaints, contribution, not entitlement. The truth is that extraordinary people do not become extraordinary because they obsess over wealth. They become extraordinary because they obsess over growth, and growth naturally increases value. And increased value naturally attracts opportunities, and opportunities naturally attract rewards. But perhaps the most beautiful part of this principle is this: nobody can stop you from becoming more valuable. Nobody. Circumstances may slow you down. People may doubt you. Life may challenge you. But every day, you have the ability to learn, to improve, to grow, to become wiser, to become stronger, to become more disciplined, to become more useful. And in doing so, you become more valuable. Because wealth is not merely a reflection of what you possess. It is often a reflection of who you have become. And when you dedicate yourself to becoming the best version of yourself, money often arrives as a byproduct, not because you chased it, but because you became the kind of person capable of creating value that others appreciate. And perhaps that is the greatest secret of all. Do not chase money. Become the person money naturally follows, turning failure into growth. Nobody likes failure. Nobody dreams of rejection. Nobody wakes up hoping to experience disappointment. And yet, failure is one of the few experiences that every human being shares. No one escapes it. Not the wealthy, not the talented, not the successful, not the wise. Everyone falls. Everyone struggles. Everyone experiences moments when life does not unfold according to their plans. But something remarkable happens in those moments. Failure reveals character, because while success often hides weaknesses, failure exposes them. And sometimes, that is exactly what we need. Most people fear failure because they have been taught to see it as the opposite of success. But what if that belief is wrong? What if failure is not the enemy? What if failure is the teacher? Because every successful person you admire has one thing in common. They failed, repeatedly. But they refused to allow failure to define them. Instead, they allowed failure to educate them. And there is an enormous difference between the two, because when failure becomes your identity, growth stops. But when failure becomes your teacher, growth begins. The problem is that pain often speaks loudly, and in moments of disappointment, the mind becomes vulnerable. It whispers cruel lies. You're not good enough. Maybe you're not meant for success. You should just give up. And sadly, many people believe those voices, not because they are true, but because pain has a way of making temporary emotions feel permanent. But emotions are not facts, and setbacks are not final, because life has a strange way of hiding blessings inside painful experiences. Sometimes rejection protects you. Sometimes delays prepare you. Sometimes failure teaches lessons that success never could. And perhaps the greatest wisdom comes not from victories, but from wounds. Because pain forces reflection. Pain creates humility. Pain builds empathy. Pain strengthens character. And character is often forged in adversity, not comfort. Think about it. Strength is developed through resistance. Patience is developed through waiting. Wisdom is developed through mistakes. And courage is developed through fear. Without difficulty, many of the qualities that make us extraordinary would never exist. But perhaps the greatest danger is not failure. It is quitting. Because failure is temporary. Quitting makes it permanent. Every dream abandoned. Every talent ignored. Every possibility surrendered. Not because success was impossible, but because discouragement became stronger than hope. And this is why resilience matters. Because life does not reward perfection. Life rewards persistence. The people who eventually succeed are rarely the ones who never failed. They are often the ones who simply refuse to stay down, again and again. They stood back up, not because they were fearless, but because they understood something powerful. The future is not decided by how many times you fall. It is decided by how many times you rise. And perhaps that is why some of the most extraordinary individuals in history emerged from extraordinary struggles, not despite their hardships, but because of them. Because hardship has a strange ability to reveal strengths we never knew we possessed. Strength that comfort could never produce. Wisdom that ease could never teach. And confidence that success alone could never provide. The truth is, your greatest setbacks may someday become your greatest stories. Your deepest wounds may become your deepest wisdom. And the chapters of your life that you once wanted to erase may eventually become the chapters that shaped you most. Because life is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep moving forward, even when progress feels slow, even when fear returns, even when the road becomes difficult, because failure is not proof that you are losing. Sometimes, failure is proof that you are growing. And one day, you may look back at the moments that nearly broke you and realize they were the moments that truly built you. Thinking long term. We live in a world obsessed with speed, fast food, fast entertainment, fast success, fast money. Everyone wants results immediately. Everyone wants rewards now. Everyone wants the destination. But few people are willing to respect the journey. And perhaps this is one of the greatest tragedies of modern life, because the most valuable things in life grow slowly. Trust grows slowly. Wisdom grows slowly. Character grows slowly. Wealth grows slowly. And yet people often become frustrated because life refuses to move at the speed of their expectations. They plant seeds in the morning and expect forests by evening. But life has never worked that way. Nature itself teaches patience. A tree requires years. A masterpiece requires years. A strong relationship requires years. And extraordinary lives require years. Yet most people abandon their dreams because they underestimate what can happen over time. They focus too much on today and not enough on tomorrow. They sacrifice the future for temporary pleasure, a few moments of comfort, a few moments of distraction, a few moments of gratification, without realizing that small decisions repeated daily eventually shape entire destinies. Because every decision carries consequences, some immediate, some delayed. And the dangerous thing about life is that consequences often arrive long after decisions have been made, which is why discipline feels difficult today. But regret feels unbearable later, and perhaps that is why wise people think differently. They ask themselves questions that average people rarely consider. How will this decision affect me 5 years from now? Who am I becoming? What kind of life am I building? Because they understand something extraordinary. The future is not something you enter, it is something you create. Every habit creates a future. Every thought creates a future. Every decision creates a future. And whether you realize it or not, you are constantly building tomorrow. The problem is that human beings are naturally attracted to immediate rewards. Comfort feels good. Distractions feel good. Procrastination feels good. But immediate pleasure often carries hidden costs. And those costs become visible only with time. A wasted year rarely feels painful today. But 10 wasted years can become heartbreaking, because time is the one resource that never returns. Money can return. Opportunities can return. Even health can sometimes return. But time moves in only one direction. And perhaps that is why the greatest investment you will ever make is not in stocks, not in businesses, not even in real estate, but in yourself. Because the person you become determines the life you experience. And personal growth compounds across decades. One lesson, one book, one discipline, one improvement, repeated year after year, until one day, people call you successful without seeing the invisible years that made success possible. But long-term thinking requires something rare, faith, because often you must work without immediate rewards. You must trust without immediate evidence. You must continue without immediate recognition. And that is difficult, because society celebrates quick victories, but life rewards consistency. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 10, because transformation is usually invisible while it is happening and visible only after it has happened. This is why patience is not weakness. Patience is power, because patience allows you to remain calm while others panic. Patience allows you to remain focused while others quit. Patience allows you to continue while others become discouraged, and time eventually rewards those who refuse to abandon the process, because life is not a sprint, It never was. It is a marathon, a long journey, a journey that rewards endurance more than excitement, consistency more than intensity, wisdom more than impulse, and purpose more than pleasure. The truth is, the future belongs to those who can see beyond today, those who are willing to sacrifice temporary comfort for lasting fulfillment, those who understand that extraordinary lives are not built in extraordinary moments. They are built in ordinary days, repeated with extraordinary consistency. And perhaps one day, years from now, you will look back at the small choices you made, the sacrifices, the disciplines, the lessons, the patience, and you will realize something beautiful. The life you once dreamed about was quietly being built all along. Becoming the person who attracts success. Most people spend their lives chasing success. They chase money, they chase recognition, they chase opportunities, they chase happiness. And while there is nothing wrong with ambition, there is something many people fail to understand. Success is not something you chase. Success is something you become, because money can be lost, opportunities can disappear, and circumstances can change, but the person you become, that remains. And ultimately, who you become determines what you attract. Think about it. A person with discipline attracts trust. A person with wisdom attracts opportunities. A person with integrity attracts respect. A person with value attracts rewards. And a person who constantly grows attracts possibilities. Nothing extraordinary happens by accident. Everything begins with identity, because your life will always move in the direction of the person you believe yourself to be. And perhaps this is why so many people struggle. They want the rewards without becoming the person capable of sustaining them. They want wealth without wisdom, success without sacrifice, results without growth. But life rarely works that way. Because if success arrives before character, success often disappears. And perhaps that explains why some people rise quickly, only to fall even faster. Because external success without internal growth is unstable, but when growth comes first, success becomes sustainable. Because true wealth is not merely money. True wealth is peace. True wealth is freedom. True wealth is purpose. True wealth is becoming someone you are proud of. And perhaps that is the greatest achievement a human being can reach. To look in the mirror and genuinely respect the person staring back, not because life was easy, not because everything went according to plan, but because you refused to stop growing, because despite the failures, you kept learning, despite the fear, you kept moving, despite the setbacks, you kept believing, and little by little, you transformed, not overnight, but day after day, because transformation is rarely dramatic. It is usually quiet, invisible, almost unnoticed, until one day, you realize you are no longer the person you used to be. The things that once distracted you no longer control you. The fears that once paralyzed you no longer define you. The habits that once weakened you no longer dominate you. And suddenly, you understand something extraordinary. The greatest victory was never money. The greatest victory was becoming stronger, wiser, calmer, more disciplined, more patient, more grateful, more intentional. Because at the end of life, people rarely regret not making more money, but they often regret not becoming who they were capable of becoming. And perhaps that is life's greatest question. Not how much did you earn? Not how famous did you become? Not how many possessions did you accumulate? But rather, who did you become? Because that answer determines everything. And maybe, just maybe, the future you dream about is not waiting for you to become luckier or smarter or more talented. Maybe it is simply waiting for you to become different, to think differently, to act differently, to grow differently, because the life you desire is hidden inside the person you are becoming. And success, real success, has always been an inside job. So as this journey comes to an end, remember this: You do not need to become perfect. You do not need to change your entire life overnight. You simply need to keep moving forward, keep learning, keep growing, keep believing, because years from now, you will either meet the person you could have become or the person you chose to become, and the choice has always been yours. Before you leave, remember this. Wealth is not built in a single day. Neither is character, neither is wisdom, and neither is the life you dream about. The person you become tomorrow depends on the choices you make today, not the big choices, but the small ones, the invisible ones, the choices nobody applauds, the disciplines nobody sees, the habits nobody celebrates, because extraordinary lives are built quietly. And if there is one thing to remember from this audiobook, let it be this: your future is not created by luck. It is created by your mindset, your habits, your discipline, and the person you choose to become. You do not need to change everything overnight. You simply need to keep moving forward, one decision, one lesson, one habit, one day at a time. Because years from now, you will either live with the pain of discipline or the pain of regret, and the choice has always been yours. Thank you for listening to The Mindset That Prints Money from MindForge Library Uz. If this audiobook brought value to your life, consider subscribing and joining a community dedicated to growth, discipline, wisdom, and lifelong learning. Because this is more than a channel, it is a library for those who refuse to stay average. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and above all, master your mind, master your future.